friends, I'm Stacy and this is Gorgeously Aging, and today I'm going to show you how I microbladed and microshaded my own eyebrows. For those of you brand new, I am a 54-year-old master medical esthetician. I'm also trained in permanent cosmetics, so I have been doing my own microblading and shading for many years. In this video, I'm also going to show you a very simplified way of mapping the brows before doing the treatment. There are so many more advanced ways. I'm just showing something kind of easy to determine brow symmetry, arch placement, tail placement, and just making sure the brows are symmetrical. Having said that, keep in mind, eyebrows are sisters, not twins. There's always a little bit of a difference from one eyebrow to the other. The key is to try to get them as close as possible and even out any inconsistencies in the eyebrows. Now, eyebrows are a personal preference from shape to color to intensity to the types of hair strokes. And for me, I like a combination of both microblading, especially some hair strokes in the front of the brow, with shading toward the midsection and tail of the brow. The reason I like this is because as we age, we tend to lose a lot of brow hairs. They just disappear with time for so many people. And I feel like shading gives me the best shape for the very few eyebrows that I actually have. And because I'm going over years of shading and microblading that have already been done to my brows. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is a little bit awkward to do on yourself, but it is doable, especially if you have some artistic ability and just feel confident. Shading is much easier to do on yourself than microblading, but both are definitely possible. I will also touch on preparation, sanitation, colors and color mixing, and some helpful tips for a more successful outcome. We are starting today's treatment by swabbing the eyebrow area and the perimeter with rubbing alcohol to clean and sanitize the area before moving on to topical lidocaine. Here I'm going to apply a liberal amount of topical lidocaine on my cleaned brows and let it sit for anywhere between 15 and 30 minutes. I tend not to be terribly sensitive, so I only leave my lidocaine on for about 15 minutes, but if you are more sensitive, leaving it on for up to 30 minutes can be very helpful. It is important not to sanitize your tub of lidocaine, so I always use a spatula or some kind of tool that is sanitized to reach into my topical lidocaine and then apply it with a Q-tip or with a spatula. I tend to be a freak about hand washing and hand sanitizing, so definitely make sure that your hands, wrists, and forearms are clean before starting. Before removing the topical lidocaine from my eyebrows, I'm going to put some alcohol on a gauze pad and clean my tools from top to bottom, including my shading tool and the caliper for measuring, as well as the microneedling pen. I will list everything that I'm using in today's video in both the video description and the first pinned comment on this video. After sanitizing my work surface and putting on gloves, I move on to putting the sterile microneedling needle configuration into the microneedling pen. This just slides in and you can adjust the angle of the blade and go ahead and twist. This isn't an actual blade, it's actually a series of needles that are shaped into a curve, so it's not a blade per se. We're going to move on with a very basic or rudimentary brow mapping that's easy, and it really just marks out all of the key areas that we need to be aware of when designing a brow shape. We're going to start by establishing a center point and then the front of the brow, and this is customized to your preference, but typically that goes from the base of the nose straight up to find that starting point for the head of the brow. We then use the calipers to make sure it's even on both sides, and we do the same with the arch. We're measuring the space between the start point or the head of the brow to the arch, and then we're going to ensure that it's the same on both sides. So using the caliper is a great way to make sure that your arch is the same from one side to the other. All of this can be customized to suit your preferences. I'm going to move on and mark the tail ending of the brow from the nasal base, going right past the corner of the eye, and this is a basic guideline or landmark for the tail of the brow, but again, you can customize. We're going to make sure with the caliper that the distance between the brow arch and the brow tail is the same on both sides. It's also important to make sure the angle is also the same from one side to the other. These caliper tools are quite inexpensive on Amazon, so I always keep them on hand. They generally come in a pack of more than one. They are definitely extremely helpful in mapping out the brows. You'll see at the end of my mapping that I actually remove all my markings. Because I've been doing my brows for so long, I already have some established shading, which helps guide me when I'm refreshing the brows, so I don't need the markings. But I always usually do them just to make sure there aren't any changes in the brow shape that need to be made. Again, this is just a very basic brow mapping technique. Definitely do a search on YouTube for more advanced brow shaping if you would like to learn more about that, because there are a lot of different ways to do it that get very technical. This is just a really easy, simplified brow mapping technique. As far as choosing color, I will list my color down in the description box below. It's a brand that I've used many times. It fades nicely without getting to be a really weird color, which is important. You don't want it to fade over time and look greenish or red or purple. So I'll share the brow pigments that I like. Keep in mind, they always heal lighter than what you see in the bottle. What you're seeing after treatment is oxidized pigment on the surface of the skin. Once healed, it is the softer embedded pigment under the skin. I forgot that I didn't set up the needle head in the shading device, and this just screws right in. This is a 1R or 1 round, and I'm going to start out with microblading, starting at the head of the brow and moving toward the tail. I'm not going to lie, this is a little awkward and takes some patience and some confidence. You'll see in this video that I'm going to use a combination of moving from the top of the brow down or from the bottom of the brow upward, making my hair strokes. It is much easier just to do shading of the brows and not try to do microblading on yourself, but it is possible, and I like that look in the front of the brow toward the midsection, and more of a shaded look from the midsection of the brow toward the tail. It's also worth pointing out that these hair strokes, once they heal, look much softer and more feathery than when you first do them. You don't have to put a lot of pressure on the microblading pen. You're doing this manually, and it's just kind of a soft pressure. You definitely want to scrape into the skin, but you don't have to push with a lot of force. My first few strokes tend to be a little more straight upward, where the third, fourth, and subsequent strokes tend to be a little bit more at an angle or with a slight curve, following the natural growth pattern of your natural brow hairs if you have them. As you watch this video, you'll see me going over the areas more than one time just to build up more hair strokes and more density. This, of course, is personal preference, and when I first started doing my brows, I was very careful and very conservative. Over the years, I know what I like, especially now that I know how it heals and what to expect. So I do like to be a little more aggressive and a little more dense with the hair strokes so that there's more of them. I'm going to let you finish watching this video, but you'll note throughout that I do take a Q-tip and rub a little bit of pigment over those etched in hair strokes and shaded areas, and I do this several times throughout treating my brows. I then dip a cotton round into some cold water to remove the excess pigment and continue working. I'll pop back in later in this video to talk about aftercare, but I will give you some time just to watch the process. Feel free to ask questions in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, useful, or inspiring, please don't forget to give a thumbs up. I really appreciate that.
If you're brand new to using this type of shading device, definitely practice on a banana peel, which is a good surface just to get the hang of using this type of tool. I like to gently go back and forth without a ton of pressure, let the needle do the work, but you definitely do want to put like some gentle pressure on it without pushing. Move the device back and forth, keeping the device moving. You don't want to stay in one spot, and this will gently shade the brows. Now, depending on how many times you go over, that will dictate how soft or how thorough the shading is. I would definitely suggest going over the area that you want to shade 2 to 3 times for an even shading distribution. Less is always more, and you can go back and touch up any areas that need additional pigmentation a month after your first treatment. You definitely want to allow a month in between treatments simply because it takes that long to fully heal. After 2 weeks, you're pretty well healed, but there is some resorption of the pigmentation, and that comes back to the surface of the skin after about a month of healing. Something to take into consideration is that the brows can look a little reddish tinted because the pigment is mixed with blood. The more you bleed, the more you'll see that reddish pigmentation mixed in with your true pigment. And if you bleed excessively, this can affect whether or not that pigment holds. I would avoid alcohol, ibuprofen, or anything that thins the blood, including fish oil. And if you can, avoid taking blood thinners before treatment. Check with your doctor before discontinuing the use of any necessary medications. Any red hue that is visible on the brows is typically just from tissue redness or a little bit of blood in the pigment and will get better as the brows heal. Although you will get a pretty good idea after a week what the brows are going to look like, they still are not fully healed, and the color will be off until about 2 to 3 weeks after treatment. I like to keep the brows dry for 24 hours after treatment, only using a tiny bit of Aquaphor. The next day, I do rinse the brows with some water and my fingers, pat gently to dry, and then use again just a very small amount of Aquaphor. And you can also use a little emu oil going into the 3rd day. There is controversy about dry healing versus keeping them moisturized. I think keeping them moisturized with Aquaphor or emu oil is the best way to heal. Do not rub, pick, or scratch at the brows as they're healing, and it is not uncommon for the brows to flake and for some of that outer thin scab to come off while they're healing. That doesn't mean the microblading wasn't successful. That is just part of the healing process. Once fully healed, you'll see the soft embedded pigment, which will look lighter, softer, and more natural than it did when they were first microbladed.
If you guys like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Gorgeously Aging community. It's totally free. You can also find me on all other socials. Just search at Gorgeously Aging. If you're interested in advanced facial rejuvenation, how to do some very expensive facial rejuvenation at home for a fraction of the cost, you can find those full tutorials at rumble.com/gorgeouslyaging. Thank you so much for spending a piece of your day with me. I will see you in my next video.